Okay, it is 6 o'clock and we will start the meeting. Commissioner Fong, can you please begin the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can you please call the roll call?
Commissioner Fong?
Here.
Commissioner Camacho?
Here.
Commissioner Tafoya?
Present.
Commissioner Martinez? Commissioner Gutierrez Garcia?
Here.
Commissioner Chidas?
You see, yes, sorry, I heard Bettis, sorry.
Thank you. Public comment procedures. If you wish to make a general public comment or comment on a specific agenda item, you are encouraged to attend the Library and Community Service Commission meeting in person. Email public comments received have been distributed to the commission and will be entered into the record. Do we have any email comments?
We do not.
All right. Public comment time restrictions. Public comments generally are limited to 2 minutes per speaker. I may further the limit of the public comments depending on the agenda schedule. So we don't have this one. So we don't have any comments? So you can say
We're now open to public comment in case somebody did.
okay. We're open to public comments. Okay, no public comments. We go to consent the agenda. First item, ID 24-194, the minutes from February 14, 2023. 24, sorry. Does any commissioner have any questions or comments about it? All right.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the minutes from February 14 and March 13, 2024.
I'll second.
Can you please call for roll call?
Commissioner Fong?
Yes.
Commissioner Camacho?
Yes.
Commissioner Tafoya?
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez? Commissioner Gutierrez Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Chidas?
Yes,
Motion passed.
Thank you. Now we go to the next item, ID 24-195. The minutes from March, is it the same one? It's a different, oh, March 13, 2024. Any comments from those minutes?
I'll motion to approve the minutes from March 13th.
Can I
I'll
get a
second.
Thank you. Call for roll call, please.
Commissioner Fong?
Yes.
Commissioner Camacho?
Yes.
Commissioner Tafoya?
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Chidas?
yes.
Motion passed.
We pass to the next one, administrative reports. ID 24-196, Recreation and Parks Facility Projects Update. Can Anna Breeze please give us your presentation? Thank you.
Hello, Chair. Testing? No?
Try that one.
Testing. Oh, this one's on. Hello, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Ana Ambriz, and I'm the city's Recreation Park Superintendent. And today I'll be giving you an update on the major recreation and park facility projects. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with Gloucester Park. So as you all know, the city received $6.8 million from the state to do a comprehensive renovation of Gloucester Park. The improvements range from redoing the entire ball fields to new restrooms, new concession stand, and so many other things. We're adding a fitness loop, skate area, multi-use event space, new playgrounds, and again, more. The improvements have all been vetted by community through an extensive community engagement process that started with the development of our master plan and then did full circle at the end of June of 2023. So some of the key findings were identifying the themes for the playgrounds and type of amenities that community would like to see in this park. The theme for the playground will be water, sea explorer theme, and some of the amenities that community identified as something to see more of are things like sitting spaces. Here is a general timeline for the project. As you all know, the city released an RFQ and awarded a contract to BFS Landscape Architects in late 2022 for design, program, and construction management of this project. Ever since, we've been working hard with them to go through environmental requirements, develop and refine the initial concept, and get us through schematic design. That schematic design is what you saw in the previous slide, and that was adopted by the City Council in December of 2023. We're currently undergoing site plan review, and that's a process that is meant to review the project for compliance with the city's zoning code and policies. Once we finalize that process, we will be applying for a building permit, and then, of course, drafting an RFP and bidding the project for construction. If all goes well, we anticipate breaking ground in October of this year. The Natividad Creek Park Restroom Rehabilitation Project. So this is a collaborative effort between Library and Community Services and Community Development. The scope of this project is to rehabilitate the existing restrooms, as well as include 2 ADA parking stalls and improve the path of travel from those 2 new stalls into the restrooms. The city awarded a contract to HA Construction in July of 2023. Construction started a few months after. It started in October. And unfortunately, due to weather, we've had a lot of rain, long supply lead times, unforeseen conditions on site. The project has been moving slowly. The project is currently under construction. And if all goes as planned, we hope to have a completed project at the end of this month. Cesar Chavez project. So I'll cover 2 projects. I'll cover the artificial turf field and a trail project. So the city received a little bit over $998,000 in 2017 from the state. That grant was intended to construct a synthetic turf field, 2 youth soccer fields, and a half basketball court. The scope was amended in 2021 to only include the synthetic soccer field, some landscaping, retention basins, and that was due to the increase in cost to really fulfill the project. The project is currently under construction and is being managed by Public Works. The construction of the field itself has been completed. We're in the landscaping phase. As you can see in the image, the area surrounding the field is what is pending. We need to make sure that the landscaping is established and successful before allowing access and giving this project a completion status. The planting occurred only a couple of weeks ago and has an establishment period of 120 days. We're hopeful that it will be successful and that we could have an open field this fall. Staff's also pending training from the contractor on the maintenance of the field. The Cesar Chavez Trail project, also initiated with state funding. In 2021, the city was awarded a little bit over $177,000 of Proposition 68 to expand the trail and make improvements to the current trail. The project involved working really closely with community development to leverage funds. The Alisal Vibrancy Plan implementation funds were allocated to this project to enhance the amenities that would go on this trail. So that would be exercise equipment, trash receptacles, and so on. The city released an RFP in March of 2023 and awarded a contract to NRD Development for the expansion and the improvements. That portion of the project has been completed. The trail includes DG paths to include exercise equipment. We're currently working with community development and exercise equipment manufacturers to identify the appropriate equipment to go on these spaces. The Firehouse and Cluster Park ADA restroom improvement project. So this project consists of removing just architectural barriers to those with disabilities. The improvements consist of rehabilitating 4 restrooms, 2 male, 2 female, 2 at Cluster, 2 at the Firehouse. The scope for the Firehouse also includes the path of travel from the ADA parking stalls through to the restroom, to the main multipurpose area. And the scope for Cluster includes sealing 2 doors that are facing the playground that are currently no longer used. The city requested scope and fees from the city's architect's master list in April of 2023 and essentially selected WRD to help us develop plans for these projects. WRD recently submitted plans for approval and issuance of building permits. We're still undergoing that process and hope to be in the final round of comments from planning. Once we finalize that phase, we will have to draft an RFP and for the construction and improvements of those restrooms. Playground. So as part of the $2 million ARPA allocation to library and community services, we've undertaken a series of projects ranging from resurfacing of playgrounds to complete renovations and replacements. We've also done 2 rounds of repairing broken and damaged equipment, the resurfacing of all the playgrounds that have engineered wood fiber and sand have been completed. The complete replacement of the playground at Natividad Neighborhood Park and Steinbeck Neighborhood Park have been completed. The Steinbeck Neighborhood Park is currently in the process of transitioning from sand to engineered wood fiber. So today, your park maintenance team finished emptying one of the playground areas, and we hope to have this finalized by the end of this week to hopefully install the engineered wood fiber next week. So in addition to the complete replacement of these 2 playgrounds, we're also working with BFS to convert the Williams Ranch and Northgate Neighborhood Park playgrounds into universal playgrounds. So designs and concepts have been finalized. Based on community feedback, we conducted a series of pop-up activities at these parks and surrounding schools, as well as an online survey. The themes of these parks will be around nature. BFS will soon be submitting plans to the permit center for approval and issuance of a building permit. The Hebron Family Center project. So you guys have all heard quite a bit about this project. We've been before you multiple times, but essentially the project consists of demolishing the existing building and reconstructing a brand new state-of-the-art facility. As you all know, the city was awarded $8.1 million thanks to now California Speaker, Assembly Member Robert Rivas. So in addition to that $8.1 million, the city has allocated additional CDBG and American Rescue Plan Act funds to help support this project. This is the general timeline. So in May of 2022, the city awarded a contract to Griffin Structures, for the project program and construction management of this project. Ever since, we've been working really closely with them and their team to go through environmental requirements, community engagement, RFPs for demolition of the building, the actual demolition of the building, coming up with a concept for the new building, getting us through schematic design, and so on. And the council did approve the schematic design in September of 2023. And we recently awarded a contract to Dye Construction to complete the construction documents and essentially build the new Hebron Family Center. Dye anticipates to submit plans to the building and planning department at the end of July, and if all goes well, knock on wood, it will, they anticipate starting construction in October of this year. It is still our goal and grant requirement to have an open facility at the end of 2025. These are just some images of some of the milestones with this project. Like I mentioned, here is your concept. This is what the building could look like. We had a goodbye celebration with community. We've demolished the building, and this is the current site. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Commissioners, to my right, do you have any comments or questions? Commissioner Chaides?
So thank you. That was a lot of information. You've been busy at work. I was just curious on the Natividad Creek restroom rehabilitation project. I must have missed where you mentioned the cost involved. I don't know.
I didn't mention the cost, and I don't have it in front of me, but it is something that I can share with the commission.
Okay, thank you.
I do have to mention, since you brought up cost, and this is a collaborative project with community development, and they are managing the project and fully funding the project through CDBG funds.
Commissioner Fong?
I just have one question. Are all of these PowerPoint slides on the city website?
They are not, but we can share them with you if you'd like them.
I'm just curious if the public's able to look at these. If not, that's fine.
We can certainly add them to Legistar as well, where the current agenda lies.
Okay, thank you. A lot of good things.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tapoya?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. It looks like you're very busy with a lot of projects that you're undertaking. And it's great to see that all these projects are, you're basically, they're coming from, I believe, the master plan, their priorities in the libraries and community master plan. So it's nice to see that we're executing on those plans that we have there. Now, I have a comment on the Steinbeck park itself. Since I could remember, that park has been the way it has been. So that new park itself is a huge success. And I think that deserves some sort of celebration. So I'm not sure what this could look like, but we're not just replacing a water fountain, or we're just not polishing a water fountain. We're replacing the whole entire park. And that's a lot of, money that's going into it. So I think it maybe deserves some sort of celebration. That's my thoughts on that. Yeah, something. So for the Natividad Creek Restrooms Rehabilitation Project, are there any challenges encountered during the construction phase, and how are those being addressed? I think I've heard you mention something about weather stalling the project.
Yeah, as you can recall, we had rain, quite a bit of rain. So that's been a challenge, because then, the construction company can't necessarily be out there working with significant amount of rain. The other thing that we encountered was drainage. So we had to work with our city engineer, our WRD, who also developed the plans, to make changes to the plan and make sure that we had a solution so that the drainage would be properly addressed. Also, there's been long lead times on equipment. Some light fixtures have taken months to arrive. So that's also something that we're, having a little bit of trouble with. And that's something that we don't have necessarily control of.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, regarding the Cesar Chavez Soccer Fields and Trail project, what led to the amendment of the project scope in 2021?
I'll defer to.
Sure, I'll go ahead and take that. I think ultimately, as Anna mentioned, we received just under $1 million. And as the project moved forward, it took some time for Public Works to be able to actually initiate the project.
the costs were significantly increased, and the artificial turf itself and the landscaping that Anna referenced, that alone was going to cost has cost more than $1 million. There have been additional allocations of general fund to support that project. So it really comes down to the costs.
Okay. Thank you for that background. Now, regarding the playground repairs and replacements, so what criteria are we using for prioritizing the repairs and maintenance across different parks?
So as you mentioned, we're definitely going back to that master plan. There is a rating of all playgrounds included there, but also given that these repairs are being funded with ARPA and the council has set a specific criteria for where the majority of that money should be spent. And that's been in SIP codes 93905 and 93906, who have been impacted the most by COVID.
And if I could, I'll just add to that. When we initially received the $2 million, to me, it was very important that we came up with a systematic approach for us to how we were going to spend that $2 million. So the first thing we looked at was safety, and we wanted to make sure all of the playground surfacing met the required level for safety. So we initiated that piece of the project. In addition, it has been quite some time since our department has seen that amount of funding for parks. And so we brought our playground manufacturers out to do inspections of every location and identify what pieces of equipment needed to be repaired. And that's something that happens frequently. We're seeing, even though we did a great sweep and did, lots of repairs, we regularly continue to find equipment that breaks, whether it's a slide, whether it's a drinking fountain, all of those kinds of things. So we also did those inspections to identify what was needed to make repairs.
Got it, and and then we have a scale on that master plan on what parks should be. Okay, perfect. Regarding the firehouse and Cluster Park ADA restroom improvements, what measures are in place to minimize the disruption for the daily operations of the facilities during the renovation process?
There's definitely going to be some impact to the firehouse just because it will, we have programming all day from 8 till 8 p.m. So whenever we go into construction, there's got to be some impact because there's not going to be access to restrooms, unfortunately. Depending on where they start construction, there might be a way for us to maybe bring portable restrooms or find a way to, again, just minimize impact as much as possible.
Okay.
And same goes for the Cluster Park.
Okay. Last but not least, for the Hebron Family Revitalization Project that we've heard plenty of, I just have one question. You mentioned that the completion of this park hinges on a grant. So what strategies are in place to ensure a timely completion of the project within budget constraints?
So we meet with Griffin, who is our consultant, and we regularly, we meet with them every other week, and we're constantly reinforcing and saying we need to meet this deadline. If we don't meet this deadline, who knows if funding could be jeopardized. So we're constantly pushing, we're constantly working internally to try to expedite processes, whether it's saying community development, this is on your end. Can you please help us move this a little quicker? So there are those measures. And then I'll defer to Kristen for any additional thoughts on that.
Sure. The only other thing I would add is the process by which we've moved forward is also a method to expedite. So as Anna mentioned, we just, the city council just awarded a contract to Daidi Construction, and that's a design build process. So part of the initial work was for ABA Architects to get us to a certain point within our plans, and then it's a handoff to Daidi and their consultants to complete that design process that we think will be completed in about, I think, 90 days roughly, and then we'll move right into construction. And so the process also is a mechanism to help us stay on track.
Perfect. Thank you. And I just want to echo Commissioner Fong's sentiments on this presentation. I think more people should be aware of it. It's very informative. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Camacho?
Thank you, Anna. It's great to see the arrows on this side of the page when it goes to the timeline. So a lot of work to review for sure. So I have a question on the Cesar Chavez soccer field. The planting establishment period, you mentioned 120 days. It started about 3 weeks ago, you said. Is that caution tape the only thing keeping people off?
No, I mean, that side of the park is supposed to, it's technically closed, right?
Okay.
The gates at the parking lot are closed. There
Okay.
is still some fencing around. But in terms of accessing the field, that caution tape is there.
And has that been enough so far?
You know, we've had people, right, come in and start playing. We are working with the consultant, and, you know, I have to confirm that one of the mechanisms that they were exploring was to fence the actual field.
And that has been completed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there
So
is
then-
fencing up. Anna's correct. We have had residents who obviously are excited for a new soccer field.
Yeah.
And probably 2 or 3 weeks ago after the rains, we were notified by Public Works that people were out there playing and had traipsed a bunch of dirt.
Right.
From the dirt area where the landscape is going onto that field. So that has been challenges. So we would definitely like the public's support. We know everybody's excited. We're just as excited, but we certainly would like to keep people off that space as much as possible, just so that we can make sure that the landscape takes, and then we'll be happy to do a large celebration for the variety of improvements at Cesar Chavez Park.
Thank you. Yeah, I would think that would be so challenging on a hot day and hotter days ahead when people are out and about. So, second question on the Cesar Chavez Trail. Renovating and expanding DG Trail. What's DG?
It's the material that decomposed granite.
Decomposed granite, okay. And so my experience with some decomposed granite trails is that weeds still are a problem. And is that just like my observation, or is there like a weed abatement maintenance plan for that trail as well?
We'll certainly have to monitor. I'm thinking back to prior to that trail renovation. I don't recall seeing a lot of weeds, but I could have missed some. And so the park maintenance team will need to work to stay on top of that.
Is the project is managed by Public Works? Is that typical on projects of this scale? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Public Works, they're one of their main charges is to lead these types of Public Works projects. They have the expertise around the engineering, the bidding, the labor
Landscaping.
compliance, all of those kinds of things. And so we work very closely with our Public Works department.
Great. And I think one other question. On the Hebron Family Center, since the funding there's like a big question mark, is the project open to private grants, like like from the public. Like I'm thinking we have such great organizations in the community. If one of our agricultural leaders wanted to donate, is that something that is possible?
Certainly. I mean, we have a history of doing naming opportunities
Right.
with the El Gavilan Library. I will say, I believe we're fully funded. We just issued the contract to Deed Construction, and that, barring any major unforeseen issues, I believe we are funded at this point. When we issued the contract with DIDE, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, that action also included shifting some ARPA funding that we had designated for irrigation to backfill to provide enough funding to get this project completed.
Okay. Perfect. Great. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. I have just one question. For the Cesar Chavez Trail, is it going to be connected to the Hebron Family Center? Is it going to have access to it?
Can you go back to that slide, please? Because I think it'll be to the Cesar Chavez Trail. Okay, so Hebron will be here, right? And then as we go down this, you can drive into this parking lot, and this is a trail, what's in green. So there is access from the Hebron Family Center side to the trail.
All right. And is it going to be only just a walking trail, or is it going to be for bikes as well?
It's a walking trail.
Walking trail.
And like I mentioned, there are some stations that will be installed along the way for some sort of exercise equipment.
How long is it? Do you have an estimate length?
Oh, it's been a while since I looked at it, but we can get that to you.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Thank you, Anna, for your great work.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Fong?
Just wondering, what's the distance of that trail, since we were looking at this?
I have to apologize. It's been a while since I looked at it, but we can certainly get that information and share with the commission.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Okay, now moving on to item ID 24-197, Library Public Computer Upgrades. Interim Deputy Librarian Francis Herber will give the presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Francis Siebert. I'm the Interim Deputy Librarian, and I'm happy tonight to report on our public computer upgrades project, which I believe was a very successful project, and I hope to show that the positive trends we've seen is shown through the data that we'll look at tonight. First, I'd like to start with a bit of context, including a quick timeline of the project. In fiscal year 2022-2023, the funds were appropriated for that project, and later in the fiscal year, we actually purchased the computers, and in the summer of 2023, we started installation of the computers at first at the John Steinbeck Library, which was the most needed, and then moved on to Cesar Chavez after that. After that, I'd like to show a little bit of the metrics that we'll be looking at. So we'll be looking at total number of sessions on our computers, average length of sessions in minutes, total amount of time spent on computers in hours, and total number of pages printed, and finally total number of sessions on our wireless network as well, which was part of the project. In terms of what I'd like to highlight, two main things are important, I feel like, tonight to remember, is that, for example, the total amount of time spent on computers and the average time of sessions really showed that our old computers were inadequate. They were slow, they froze a lot, and they were disconnecting from the internet. So really, they were inadequate, and it shows on the other end that the new computers have really lessened the digital divide and helped our patrons really complete what they came to the library to do. So those are the two main highlights that I'd like to come out of this report. So let's dive a little bit more into the numbers. In terms of the total computer sessions, we've seen a jump of 26% right after installation for the new computers at John Steinbeck. I feel like that is significant. And on this slide, it shows a nice progression. We do see a dip in Q3 of 2024, but that's because in 2023, we had a lot of class visits for special events in that quarter. The adult computers, for example, specifically still show a 33% increase in that quarter. It's just the youth computer were used more the year before. After that, in terms of average computer sessions, this metric can be a bit volatile depending on what patrons come in to the library to see and do, but that said, average sessions more than doubled in Q1 and Q2 of 2024. I think that's a super interesting metric, again, to see that beforehand sessions were short because computers froze or people lost patience with them, and we got a lot of feedback about that. And then when we replaced them, straight away we saw people staying on the computers longer, so that was very positive. And then in terms of total computer usage time, we see similar numbers, anywhere from, if you don't mind going to the next slide, thank you. Thank you, Devin. We see anywhere from 30% to 48% progression there in terms of, again, just total time spent on our computers. So again, we see that positive trend really all across the board. And I think this one, total pages printed, is a very interesting and telling metric. We saw in Q1 a difference year over year of 86%, followed by 69%, 25%. These are pretty high numbers. Of course, we don't foresee going forward that it's always going to be 80% higher than the year before. Those curves tend to flatten with time. But it shows to me that people came into the library to do what they needed to do and got something out of it, which, whether it is a resume, a report for school, flyers for a business. So we're seeing it with our staff telling us, but we see it in the numbers as well. So I thought pages printed was very interesting. And finally, I just want to take a quick look at our public Wi-Fi sessions as well. So as you know, more and more people come into the library with their own devices. So upgrading our Wi-Fi, our wireless network in our libraries was important as well. And again, we see similar numbers, anywhere from 34% to 39% more sessions open using our Wi-Fi access at all of our branches. So I think that was, again, a telling story. And in my mind, more than just computer use, I think these statistics also tell the story of people returning to the library. And we will have more data as we go to really tell the commissioners that story going forward. I really believe in 2024 we're seeing a very positive trend, and that's what I wanted to report on tonight. Of course, I'm available for questions and comments. Thank you.
To my left, Commissioner Camacho.
Do we charge for printing?
We do charge for printing, 10 cents a page, black and white, 25 cents a page for color. That being said, if people have a library card, they get 50 cents of credit per day.
Oh.
So that's an incentive.
Nice perk.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to admit, I don't think I've printed anything in probably years, but I use my cards, my little memory cards. So this is great. How much money went into the new computers? Remind me.
The amount appropriated was $100,000.
$100,000. Okay. Well, money well spent. Thank you.
I believe so. Thank you.
That's all.
Commissioner Tafoya.
Thank you for the presentation. So it's great to see that the libraries are helping to close this technology divide between those who have access to and the internet and community technologies for those who don't. So it's great to see. So I have a questions for you regarding the budget allocation for the project. Can you provide me more information on how that $100,000 was determined?
I wasn't part of the initial negotiations in terms of the amount, but maybe Director Lundquist would like to chime in on that.
Yeah, I believe our previous deputy librarian, Mila Rianto, made some projections around what was needed and then came up with a dollar amount that we requested through the budgetary process.
Perfect.
And if I may, the bulk of it is really for end clients, as we say, meaning computers that function well for people to use directly. None of it went to staff computers or anything like that, all for the public.
Regarding the implementation process, what criteria was used to select the new computers? And were there any specific technological requirements to consider for the Salinas community?
So I was in communication with our IT department, of course. We were able to get a few different quotes from different companies. I believe we got a very good deal. In terms of the specifications for those computers, we tried to get the best processors. That's always important. It's i7 processors. It's a fairly strong processor. Enough RAM type, just for the processor to process information quickly and all that. But what I would say is for us, hard drives are not that important. We don't have a lot of peripherals on them, so we really pinpointed having a strong processor, having a good network card as well. We're still on Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7 will be coming, but there was no way to have those new computers. It's a technology that's not yet available. But we have the top of the line when it comes to that. And essentially, we were really prioritizing for the next, I would say, hopefully 7 or 8 years, computers that will be fast enough to perform the way we want them to perform.
Perfect. That's great to hear. Another question regarding the implementation process. Were there any challenges encountered during the installation process, and how was those challenges addressed?
That's a good question. It took some work to make sure that we were, the settings were the way we wanted them. There's always a big focus of ours is personal data. We want to make sure computers are set up so that nobody can be afraid of a data breach or anything like that. So we have specific software that we use for that. Therefore, it can be a challenge, but we have experience in that. We have our IT department that helps with that, and we were able to develop a really good procedure, which a few of our staff members know and participated in, so that we have, for example, our librarian twos that take care of the sites know how the computers work. I'm not going to say that they know everything from A to Z. I was mostly the person in charge of setting them up, but we didn't see that many challenges, I believe. We stayed the course with what we have done in the past, and it's worked very well for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like all the graphs that you included in the presentation. It shows that people are using these computers. So now regarding the impact assessment, have there been any qualitative observations or feedback from library staff regarding the impact of the new computers on patron experiences?
Yes, I mean, anecdotally, I've heard quite a bit of good stories about people notifying us of the difference between it. It's night and day, to be honest. And myself, before even thinking of reporting on it, because it was very early on, and as you can see in the statistics, you see it right when we install the computers, I could see all of a sudden all the computers were taken, 12 of them for adults, for example, at the John Steinbeck Library. As soon as we had our nice setup and everything, you could see the usage go up. Even without the statistics, everybody could see it. Staff are very happy with it as well because they don't get as much negative feedback, or if any, these days. So I've heard, through staff meetings and things like that, I've heard a lot of positive feedback from all sides. Very happy with that.
Great. Last question. For future plans, are there any plans to expand or replicate this initiative, let's say at the the Gavilan Library?
Yes, we're looking at improving. Of course, El Gavilan Library's computers weren't bought at the same time, I'll say it that way, than the older computers we had at the other two branches. But there's always opportunities to improve, and we're looking at that. And it includes as well the infrastructure behind. We received the equipment today. Our IT department will be able to install new, what we call switches, which help the network in general. And that's big these days because not only people are using the computers that are on site, but as you add more and more people coming in with their devices and they connect, we need to have enough broadband to make sure everybody can do what they want to do on our computers and on their devices as well. So we're always looking at improving the infrastructure, but also computers themselves at all branches.
Got it. I do agree with you. The data does show that people are returning to the library, so that's really good news. Thank you again.
Thank you for the feedback.
Commissioner Fong?
Yes, most of the questions I had were answered by commissioners asking, and also you answered a few. I just have some questions that I'm just curious. Do we know the brand of the computers?
They're Lenovo computers.
They're what?
Lenovo computers.
Oh, okay.
Lenovo, yeah.
And then another question is, and maybe you might answer and I didn't hear it, but how many computers were replaced with the 100,000?
So we bought 70 computers.
How many?
70.
70, okay. And are there different types of computers for the adults and children, or?
They're the same computers, but some of the settings are a little bit different, and some of the software we install on them are a little bit different. But the hardware, the computer itself, we bought the same.
Okay.
Makes
and
it simple.
One last question is, how old, the age of the previous computer that were there?
Yeah, I knew that question was coming. They would be 15 years old, I believe, this year. Yeah. So
usually computers are replaced 3 to 5 years, so.
I would say so. Ideally, yes.
That's slow.
It was overdue, I believe, yes.
And lastly, a person from the public told me that they really love the new computers. And the last thing, they really appreciate the staff assisting, helping them with computers. So just wanted to acknowledge that you guys are doing a great job there. You might have been the person helping.
Thank you, Commissioner Fong. Very appreciated.
Commissioner Chaides?
Yes, applaud the work, and yes, the graphs demonstrate the importance of the upgrade, and the significant use demonstrates that there was a dire need. And having been in the past, been one of those community members, in Fresno County, not having the ability to buy your own computer at home, I understand the importance of having access to a public computer. But I have a couple of questions, which you did answer most of them. So my assumption is they're desktops, right? They're
Yes.
desktop computers. So I haven't been into the particular libraries that you mentioned. So when you're talking about, but I have been in some, or it's been some time. So I see where they're placed, pretty open access. Are there any of them placed in a room, like in a study type of room, so people, because everybody's Zooming these days and need privacy for that, or?
Not in terms of the desktop computers. They're in an open space. We do offer access to laptop computers at El Gavilan, which then people can take with them to a study room, for example. And we're rolling out the same service at the other two branches as well. We wanted to prioritize desktop computers first, but it is coming in terms of laptop computers being available at all branches. And we also have computers that people will be able to check out and take home as well. We already have them at Cesar Chavez as a pilot project, but we'll be expanding that as well. Yeah. So that being said, it can be a challenge. For example, at El Gabilan, our study rooms are very popular, so people have to reserve ahead of time. They can do that through our website. Yeah, we do offer that option, I would say. Yeah.
That's great. No, that's great to hear that you're meeting the community where they need. So is there, do you check out hotspots? Is that an option now?
Very popular, yes.
Okay.
We have hotspots that we can check out to people, yeah.
Awesome. And my last question is, given that it took an average of 15 years, is there a cycle for equipment replacement going forward, or maybe whatever the budget allows? I know what you want, but.
Yeah. I think at this point, we'll monitor how it goes with the new computers, but maybe I can defer to Director Lundquist if she has more information in terms of how we can approach that. But we're looking always for grants and opportunities, like I said, to replace computers, even at El Gabilan, for example, which has newer ones.
I think our sincere hope is that we aren't on a 15-year interval. So we will do our best to make our budgetary requests as necessary to at least get us to where Francis mentioned. I think you're thinking these can get us another 7-8 years possibly. So we'll have to start thinking in a couple of years because the city plans its CIPs, 5 years in advance. And so we'll have to be thinking about that as we move forward.
Thank you.
All right. I know these are new computers. I know that new computers, they need upgrades and apps or programming. How much was that? Was it included with the computers, or you work with a certain company for that?
Yes, the pricing we were able to get, and again, I'm quite proud of the pricing we got, included Windows 11, which is the operating system. It's the newest one. You might be operating on Windows 10 at home, but at some point, Microsoft will kind of sunset that operating system. So I'm happy that we're in the new generation. That was important to me. We have the Pro version, which allows us to lock down some features on the computers. That's very important as well. And we have Microsoft Office. That's still the main productivity tool suite that people use. So we needed something they're familiar with. And we did purchase that again through the pricing we got from Lenovo directly. So again, yeah, we buy a few software, some software that go with it.
Do you have the cloud?
Yes, anybody can. These days it's somebody might have a Google Drive or something like that. They can access that through our computers. But again, we're very mindful of personal data, which means that even if they access it today, they come back the next day to the library. It's like the computer doesn't remember at all who they are, so that the next person can't see, the documents and all that. That's paramount to how we operate the computers. So yes, there is access to the cloud and all of that, but on a very, I would say on a limited basis, when people are actually using the computer, and then it wipes everything, not on the servers that Google have on it, but in terms of information on the computer locally.
Okay, how about if somebody doesn't have access to that? They haven't purchased the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? Because I know that you have to input your email to get your account. How does that work with the library's cloud?
We don't offer I guess an enterprise solution or something like that, where somebody could come in and we pay and they would get better access to the cloud. But these days, people can get access to the cloud free. And what we have is knowledgeable staff that can help them with that. Open an email account, know a little bit about, we have limits to what we tell patrons, of course, but they can definitely help with a patron that would like to open an account and have access to their documents wherever they are by using the cloud, I would say. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, now we move on to Commissioner's report. To my right, Commissioner Titus.
No report.
Commissioner Fong?
Just a reminder to let everybody know that the Asian Fair is April the 27th, and everyone's invited to come. It's a public event. It starts at 11 to 3, so come and swing by.
Commissioner Tafoya?
One question that I get all the time is, or complaint is, there's nothing to do here in Salinas. And I frankly disagree. I go on to the Salinas Public Library events calendar, and there's so much to do there. So that's just my comments on that. And I remember last year we spent time discussing the Salinas Library's hours expansion. Is there any status update on that?
So we don't have an update as of yet. One of the things that stalled kind of that implementation was our staffing levels. So we've been working to fill a lot of vacant positions, and so we'll be revisiting that likely when we fill the deputy librarian position.
Perfect, thank you. And those are all my comments.
Commissioner Camacho?
Yes. I'll start with not the bad, but just concerns for myself and the community. Things that you don't notice until, you're out and about, time changes, you're spending more time outdoors. Weeds and mowing of our parks. And so with recent rains, it's natural, it happens. One of the questions that I have is, are there schedule maintenance for different parks? And if possible, could that schedule be posted somewhere so that the community knows when, the parks are going to get mowed, or when, Public Works will be out there? I don't know if that's a possibility.
We can look at that. We certainly do have a mow schedule.
Right.
That mow schedule could shift.
Right, because of weather.
Depending on weather and a variety of other things. And
Right.
so I worry a little bit about putting it out there, but we can certainly, I'll talk to Anna and we can see about that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. The other thing is lights at the park. Lights are, a safety. Baseball season is in full swing, and my kids play at the park behind the Firehouse Rec Center. And those lights in that parking lot, as soon as it gets dark, it is pitch black back there. And I've used the Salinas Connect app. I know that other parents have used it. It might be on someone's maintenance schedule, but I feel Natividad Creek Park as well, it's another park that lights are either out. I see people towing with the wires on a lot of the light poles, and those are things that, of course, we can't necessarily always prevent, but we can definitely keep an eye out. Yesterday, in public comment, city council meeting, a very nice lady also brought up the tunnel in Natividad Creek Park, and that is really dark, even in the middle of the day. So just those things that, are on our list to do, but definitely keeps people away from parks when they don't feel safe because of the light issue. Let me see what else. I think that's the only bad, but let me move on to the good. It's National Library Week, and nobody has mentioned it. Come on, guys. This whole week is National Library Week. So I am super excited. Been telling everyone about it. Kudos to the library for the programs at the mall. Those have been great, and I do see the schedule, as Commissioner Tafoya mentioned, of the events happening at the mall for the kids. That's great to see, and a great place to bring the library to, for sure. Upcoming events, 4/20, I have cleanup at Natividad Creek Park. Volunteers are needed if anybody out there is listening. 420 is also Earth Day celebration at Central Park, 12 to 3 p.m. Volunteers also needed. 428 at Cesar Chavez Park. Maybe I have that wrong. Maybe it's Gloucester Park. Dia de los Niños celebration. Is it Cesar Chavez? Yeah, Dia de los Niños celebration. So our parks are going to see a lot of visitors in the next month and months ahead. Soccer is also starting soon. So I'm excited for our community to see all the progress and upgrades and improvements in our community parks. So thank you.
Okay, for myself, I have a question. For the update for the facility projects, I didn't hear anything about the rec center in District 5. Do you have any updates?
We don't at this point. We need to get a little further along in some of these other projects, and then we'll be working on that project.
All right, thank you. And also, I would like to mention last meeting with all the participants from the community coming to tell us their ideas, tell us their opinions. That was great. My son got inspired by them. When we got out of the meeting, we were in the car and he said, "Mom, can I give my opinion as well?" So he wanted to also give his opinion about the park, but I'm like, okay, this one is already done. Maybe you can give your opinion next time. So they were very inspiring, and I invite everybody from the community to come and talk to us about your views of anything that you need us to know. We're here for you. And that's about it. Moving on to director's report. Kristen?
So a number of mine have already been announced. Thank you for recognizing National Library Week. It was exciting last night to have the City Council give a proclamation. Today, the staff, the actual Library Workers' Day is Tuesday the 9th. However, we tend to do more celebrations and all staff meetings on Wednesday because of the rest of the week schedule. So today, the library staff celebrated National Library Workers' Day. So that was a lot of fun. Just one clarification on the trash disposal. It's this Saturday, the 11th, from 9 to 12 at Natividad Creek Park. And with that, I'll conclude my report.
Trash disposal and the trash cleanup, are those two different events then? Maybe because there's a trash cleanup by Amor Salinas starting by the school, that little creek area. Maybe and the trash disposal is like where the community goes and.
Yeah, so the trash disposal this Saturday is with our partner Republic Services. That's where people can bring trash, mattresses, recyclable stuff, that kind of a thing. I'm not familiar with an Amor Salinas cleanup this month. I could have missed it from our team, but I think it's just the trash disposal. But then the Amor Salinas Earth Day that you referenced is April 20th.
The celebration.
Correct. Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anything else? Okay, so we're gonna adjourn the meeting at 7:08. Meeting adjourned.